last year, the owners put in place an initiative to have each employee um, take a paid day off and volunteer for a nonprofit of their choice once a quarter. So a full 8-hour paid day times 4 quarters is 32 hours per employee per year. And at the time we had, I forget the exact number, but the total goal for our company rolled out to be 1,024 paid volunteer hours.
Welcome to Contracting Convos with me, your host, Ryan Groff. This show is all about bringing value to the contracting community at large. So what I do is I interview people who are making a real difference in the contracting community. And what we do is we have conversations about how to help members of the industry grow. We believe that if people are growing, the industry is growing, everyone will benefit. And I foster these conversations. So glad you're here. Please like, share, comment, and thanks for tuning in. All right, welcome to Contracting Combos. I'm here with Tre Rudig out of Core Contractors. I'm Ryan Groff with Sales Transformation Group. So I've known Core, these guys, for a while. They flew me out, and I did some training back when I was with Follow Up Days and did some sales training. So we've definitely got a great connection. And when I saw these guys at the IRE, it's always good to catch up. But Tre, who's here with us today, has been with them for quite a while. He really manages their marketing and brand positioning, and which does include community and engagement, which is the topic I want to kind of go off of for a few weeks and really just discuss with Core and Tre what their approach is. So, Tre, welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on. Yeah. So why don't you give everybody who may be watching this, the massive view of maybe 10 people who might watch this, what you guys are doing at Core, who your client is, what you focus on, kind of give us a sense of where you guys are, what your role is, things like that.
Sure. Well, I'm going to start from, I'm going to go backwards. So last year, the owners put in place an initiative to have each employee take a paid day off and volunteer for a nonprofit of their choice once a quarter. So a full 8-hour paid day times 4 quarters is 32 hours per employee per year. And at the time we had, I forget the exact number, but the total goal for our company rolled out to be 1,024 paid volunteer hours. So that was a strategy that was implemented last January 2018. We roughly did about half that as a company, so we did not meet our goal. But we did get engaged with a number of different groups. Some were one-on-one based, like there's a nonprofit called JA Finance Park, where you can go and volunteer and help kids kind of figure out, high school and middle school students, how to budget for the real world, because we never really learned that growing up. At least I didn't in school. Yeah. And just great life skills. You have to apply for a mortgage. You have to apply for a home loan. You got to budget for groceries. You're given a fictitious personality where you're a 34-year-old single accountant making, $45,000, and you have a kid, right? So you have to budget for the kid, and you have to put money away for savings for college and all this stuff. So that's just one example. We got involved with a group called Neighborhood Rehab Project. Being roofers, we wanted to get involved, with our trade. And this program helps people who are either uninsured, underinsured, or cannot afford a new roof. So we all took a day and went out and actually physically replaced the roof with probably 10 or 12 of our team members, which was really great. And then, there's other things that people get involved with on their own that are not core related or on core hours. Feeding the homeless. We have a guy here, Alan Baird, who spearheaded putting together survival backpacks for homeless over Christmas time. And he had an initial goal of $500, and we started him a GoFundMe campaign. And within a week, he had over $5,000. So he wanted to put together 10, and we ended up putting together 100, and then went and distributed it before Christmas. So it's pretty cool. That being said, Andrew Schmidt, who's one of the founding partners, is heavily engaged in the community on his own, and so he's sort of the inspiration behind all of this. He's recently nominated for the 9 News Leader of the Year. He's won Denver Business Journal's 40 Under 40, and at the IRE, we were actually took 3rd place nationally for our civic engagement for a number of different community involvement initiatives we've done. So it was nice to get that recognition at IRE as well. This year, we're taking a different approach. I guess Andrew has spoken with some of his people about community engagement within companies and things like that. And the biggest takeaway he had that we are now currently implementing, and I actually just got out of a meeting about an hour ago, is rather than management saying, okay, hey, go volunteer for 8 hours a quarter, he really felt that in order for this to be a successful program, that it needed to be employee driven. So a number of us raised our hands, and there's a group, about 6 of us on a committee that we call the Core Community Outreach, because we are core contractors, right? So we've been having a series of meetings, kind of what is our mission, what are our values, what are our goals, right? What are our 1-year goals? What does this community involvement look like 3 years out, 5, 10 years out? And so we've just kind of put our heads together on how to best drive this, and we're actually going to be presenting to the company next Friday, because the end of Q1 is up, so our timelines are set. And the approach we're taking this year is the 6 of us have come up with a number of different strategies. We want to do something that is industry specific, right? So some sort of construction, whether that's Habitat for Humanity or offering some service work pro bono for those that just can't afford it. Or something like we did last year with Neighborhood Rehab Project, where we go out, and actually physically put on a roof that's kind of partnered with another company. Then we wanted to do some ongoing things like food bank drives, stuff that people can contribute to however and wherever they want. And then other ones that are just kind of one-offs, right? Like maybe a school has a fundraiser and it's in a lower income neighborhood, and maybe they need food. We're making sandwiches for them, packing them bagged lunches, things like that. And kind of take that approach to give people more opportunities. And we really felt that a driving factor of that is one of the successes of last year's Neighborhood Rehab Project is because there was, 10 to 15 of us out there together, working together. It was a great team building activity, and it made it feel easier to do because you're among your peers, right, out there in the community giving back. Sometimes it's intimidating for people to go either alone or with a single other person to go and engage with a nonprofit because they're stepping out of their comfort zone. But if you've got a support group with you, it makes it a lot more easy to execute and then also draw interest. The other big difference this year is we've decided not to make it an hourly goal, but rather an impact goal, right? We want to have an impact in the community more so than we want to just meet a number internally that really doesn't have any bearing on what we're actually trying to accomplish. So that's a strategy we're taking this year. I know that there's going to be some continuing ongoing partnerships with people we've formed relationships over the last couple of years, but we're just trying to take a little spin on it this year and have it more employee driven. We're going to have a big core community calendar with upcoming stuff with a bulletin board on there, dry erase, and who wants to sign up and who's sort of the point person and things like that. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and hopefully where we'll be going. It's obviously been a great situation to have Andrew as the leader that he sort of is for the community outreach activities, and it's sort of been inspiring and driving the rest of us to sort of follow suit. So it's great. Plus, we just love giving back to people because we're all pretty fortunate. We've got great jobs, great careers, and we certainly recognize that there are those out there who are need help, need support, whether it's moral, monetary, or just in getting your hands dirty in physical labor.
Man, I know that like my body language wasn't very animated, but in my head, I'm blown away. Like I'm blown away by what you guys have been doing and what you just shared. You guys have accomplished. I'm really impressed, man. That is really powerful. Love to hear the stories. I know your group, you guys are really dynamic, and Andrew brings a special kind of energy to any room that he's a part of. And I know he's got such a big heart. So to be able to position the brand in such a big and great community like Denver, in such a generous way, I know that creates such a great feeling about your brand, and it creates a great feeling about your, working there. I know that there's some other companies out there, one in California that's been an inspiration that kind of got my mind really thinking a lot about this. And you guys might know them. It's Antis over there in Irvine. And they have, a really high employee retention rate because people know that what they're doing isn't just about making the owners rich, and like, so they can go on more vacations, but they feel like they're working and the money's going towards something that's making an impact. And, when I see other companies doing that, I know you guys are doing that. Like you feel good about what you're doing, and then you feel a part of something that's helping the community at large. And the reality is, though, is it's a sacrifice of everyone's time. It's a sacrifice of your abilities and talents. It's a sacrifice of your resources. And, however, there's like immeasurable returns on that. And I'm curious to hear, well, first of all, kudos to your strategy. I mean, you've experimented some things, you've gotten strategic initiatives, you've set goals. And, what I'm hearing is, as it's evolved, is that there's more power in numbers when you guys work together than it is everyone kind of doing their own individual thing. But maybe that was necessary because it gave you guys some opportunity to really discover what works, what doesn't, and without committing so much of your team to one initiative and then maybe find out it wasn't what you wanted to partner with. So it sounds like that was a really cool testing year, right? You did homeless outreach, you did this, you tried a bunch of things. You have so much feedback from the experiment where now you have some real momentum because, really, I don't know if you guys have discussed this, but building that true partnership is what it seems like is ideal. Like the partnerships with these organizations that you can really commit to, and it's like partnering with, right? It's like we're kind of marrying somebody, so to speak, as an organization to another because we believe in what you're doing, our values match, and we love your vision. Maybe there's a board of directors. There's a board of directors that has, dare I say, political power in the community, right? So like as you're initiating engagement and partnership with, an organization that is making an impact, typically there's going to be a group of smart people that are probably well funded or accomplished getting behind that. And then if you're now rubbing shoulders around something that's for impact, now you're now connecting with other owners or people who could, buy or spend a little bit more money with your brand because of why you're doing what you're doing. And I think it's such an interesting dynamic because I think a lot of contractors are so afraid to share like what they're doing in the community because they don't want to come off as bragging or, pushing it, right? And like tooting their own horn. But at the same time, how is anybody going to know what you guys are doing and why you're in business if you don't share that, right? So I'm kind of curious, like, what is y'all's position on how to really market the why behind Core, the Core community? Like, how do you market that in a way that resonates with people the way you want? Or do you know it's risky and it's just part of the game?
Yeah, no, that's a good question and a good point. Obviously, it's a delicate line to walk between trying to toot your own horn and actually, having a vested interest in what you're doing. And I'll answer the marketing part here in a second, but I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of point out sort of the driving purpose behind this. And one of the big influencers of sort of Andrew's thought process shifting in his own personal life a couple of years ago is he was talking with one of his mentors, and the mentor said that the true joy in life is moving the needle in someone else's. So helping pick that person up, or just giving them just enough to improve something in their life, whether you name it, doesn't really matter. Now, as far as the marketing aspect goes to it, sure, there's a great PR aspect to it, but we don't push that as far as, hey, look at how great we are, and we're giving back to everybody. It's more of a slow drip, if you will. We have a blog that we'll post stuff on, whether it be informational homeowner stuff or stuff that we're involved in the community. We have a page on our website dedicated to civic engagement, kind of highlighting some of the nonprofits and some of the initiatives that we've gotten involved in. Obviously, with Andrew being up for 9 News Leader of the Year, that's a huge public piece, because 9 News is the biggest station in our local market here, the most watched, and the biggest reach. So that obviously was kind of an easy help for awareness for the brand. But again, it's not about trying to convey something that we're not, right? Like, we're not doing this because we're trying to look good to other people. We're doing it because we're trying to move that needle in someone else's life. And being contractors, getting involved with people who are underinsured or uninsured, we just can't flat out afford something. We can take our skills and our resources and our manpower and go and help that person's situation, right? Obviously, we can't put on 50 free roofs a year. We go out of business. But there are certain instances that make sense. And, it's the human factor. I mean, you walk into some of these homes and their house is in shambles, and it's a shame, because, you don't realize how people live sometimes until you're in their footsteps, literally. So it's inspiring to be able to work for a company that actually cares about giving back and encourages employees to do the same.
Yeah, that's amazing. I don't think a contractor can give to the community, publicize it, if his motives are really just to look good, and and he or she isn't truly trying to move the needle. I think it's easy to pick up on that signal, right? I think it's easy to notice that. I think, people can sniff that out. So, like, you guys are doing it, but you really dug deep and asked the deep questions, and that's now resonating with your team to the point where it's like, hey, we really want to do this, to the point of like, hey, I'm tearing up right now. Like, it's just real. I'm not even faking this. This is amazing. But the fact is that when people hear about it, hopefully they're putting faith in, you as human beings and humankind and your community and the industry. I think it's powerful when you see companies that are selfless and giving back, and the community, who views that contractor can say, man, contractors, that's not the reputation I'm used to. This is a good reputation I like to see. This is more, and I'm really moved by this. I want to see the whole industry be more like this, because I think that the more you give, the more you get. And I'm a sales, trainer, right? Like, all I think about with contractors is how to make sales more predictable, how they can grow, be more efficient, more effective, and brand positioning is clearly a big part of that, and because people buy roofing because of what you do first and foremost, right? Like, you fix my leak or you replace my roof. And then I may choose somebody because of how they do the roof. Maybe they do it in a way in which has more quality and there's better reputation. So I'm now concerned more about it's going to get done right. The what, the how is going to be done. But then there's a whole nother layer deeper, that why of, why you're in business is such like a secret weapon. And I don't even say that to just come across as it's all about the money, but I think that when the why is asked, the why is answered, and the why is demonstrated, people know, okay, I need a roof. So what do? I'm gonna call a roofer. Well, who am I gonna call? I'm gonna call somebody who does a good job, and then I'm gonna probably go with the one that I know does it because of a great reason. Like, I think people know that if they could pay a little bit more to work with you guys, knowing that what you're doing is, making some kind of an impact, because subconsciously it creates a peace, it creates a trust, and it makes it easier to do. And I think as a sales consultant, right, for the industry, I think that when we give, sure, it's almost like it's, I don't want to put it in this category, but it's a marketing expense, right? Because you're branding, you're giving away, but that when you do that, you may not be able to track a Google AdWord or conversion to a lead, but or a referral from a referral partner. But man, that you're investing into your brand positioning, and you're going to get a return on that. That's difficult to track and measure, but there's something coming back. That when you give, you get something back. And especially when you give with a joyful heart, abundantly, out of like selflessness, that, you're always going to be fine. You're always going to be taken care of. And I think beyond that, it actually shows an abundant mindset, because you are giving from a place of, hey, I know that there's enough for me, there's enough for our company, and that we can give, and it's not going to break the bank. Like, we can give, and we still have abundance because we're a strong company, or you guys are doing the fundamentals really well, for example, and you don't have to worry about that. But I think kind of maybe give me your point of view on this. But companies that are doing this, or you guys doing this, you probably couldn't think about doing this maybe is on a grand scale until you have some of the fundamentals down, right? You want to be able to give from a place of strength. You want to give from a place of like, we're a strong foundation built, right? We're not just going to give away our foundation. We have the foundation because the foundation's built, and we have the model in place. Things are predictable, or sales can be made. You can give. However, you're never removed from that pain that comes from just sacrifice too, right? It hurts a little bit too. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, but like, I think it's interesting how you guys are turning that up, but you've been in business a while. You've had some successes. You've made some transitions from your strategy, and now you're really investing into this.
Yeah. So it's kind of a loaded statement. I'm not really sure how to respond to that, but the giving is more of just the time, right? Like, there's a lot of nonprofits out there that it's kind of a pay to play, right?
Okay.
We don't feel like that's the sort of partnership we want to build, right? We want to do it because it's the right thing to do, and it's making a difference. I'll give one example that I know of. It's a build a bike program, right, for kids, where you assemble bikes and then deliver them to lower income or at-risk youth or whatever. And you have to pay for all the parts for these bikes, and then assemble them, and then deliver them, and things like that. But then it's under this big umbrella of unsaid company, where it sounds like, they're a do-gooder. And yeah, obviously that's a great thing to do, and it's an example, but in order to participate, you have to put up a bunch of money, and that's not really how we want to get involved or invested with our civic engagement. Yeah. I mean, if we're raising money like we do in our charity program, story, because we're asking people to help us raise money that we then donate to a worthy cause. We did the Veterans of Colorado last year. We have a biannual charity poker tournament. Each time it's a different nonprofit. So that's sort of a event-based ask, right? So it's not just, here's a bunch of money, now we feel good about ourselves. That's not how we want to operate. I was at a referral partner convention last month, and we had a booth there, and we've built relationships with these individuals over the last several years. And the most gratifying thing that I took away, not only just from seeing some smiling faces who I know, is the recognition that they said when they came up and like, Tre, man, you guys are doing some super cool stuff in the community. Like, I can't believe how much you guys are giving back and are involved in. And that right there was enough, just the fact that people are actually taking notice, and it's not a front, it's not a, hey, let's try and make Core look as great as possible and giving and whatnot, but people are actually taking notice that we are active and actively doing what we feel is right. So I don't know. That's all I can really say about that.
Yeah, thanks. That's awesome. And I love how deep you guys have gone with this, and I'm definitely inspired. Really cool. Really cool. I think what I want to say is, or want to ask is, how or why would, if somebody were to say, I want to get started with this, what's like the first thing they should do if they wanted to begin more of a civic engagement, social engagement, community, whatever, in respect to their company?
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing they should do, and what should they do after that? Like, give us a couple of steps. Like, if you were gonna, let's pretend I'm not a huge company, right? I'm like maybe just like a couple of million in a local market. I don't have a lot of resources as much as somebody else, maybe like you or somebody else. What would you recommend I do if I was in that position?
Well, as the at the top, I would start by asking your coworkers, what are they passionate about? Don't even bring up the word nonprofit or giving back or community service or whatever, however you want to phrase it, civic engagement. Ask them what they're passionate about in life, right? Some will tell you their dog. Some will tell you their kids. Some will say, I love mountain climbing, right? Well, any one of those passions, I guarantee you there's 5 or 6 nonprofits out there that are involved with what these people are passionate about. And if you are passionate about something, you're more likely to get involved in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have here in Colorado the great mountains in our backyard, and one of our account managers suggested as maybe one of the nonprofit initiatives is to go and clean up trails, right? To go pick up trash or clear leaves and branches and rocks so that the trails are more accessible. And, that takes a load off of the park rangers sort of roles and needs.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get to it all. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of miles of wilderness out there that can't be touched by everybody. But that's where I would start is say, find out what employees are passionate about in their life, and then you can dive into sort of the nonprofit aspect of it. And then secondly, I would take the approach that we're going with this year, with it being employee driven and not coming down from management. So it doesn't feel like, oh, just another job responsibility I have to fulfill at my job. If it's led by the employees, they'll lead with their hearts and their passion and take the steps to initiate it and make it happen. And then the third and final piece that I would probably put in there is to help ingrain it as part of a culture is to recognize and, you don't need to give out awards or anything, but at least recognizing in front of the company the achievements that certain members are making, or as a team as a whole. Maybe, the whole company shuts down for a day and goes and engages in some civic engagement, whatever. But having management authentically recognize the achievements and the participation of people, I think is another driving factor.
Man, that's awesome. I love that.
It sounds sort of selfish in a certain way, but at the same time, it's showing that you're recognizing.
Very cool. I love the way you guys are balancing this. It sounds really special. How you mentioned earlier about hours, and I think we'll wrap up with this, like hours versus impact.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say you guys are going to try to really measure the impact of what you're doing versus the time spent?
That's a good question. And we've had a big discussion on that, and we're still going to sort of track involvement, and maybe not necessarily hourly involvement, but just, were you there? Did you show up? Were you present? Kind of thing. And as far as the impact goes, how are we going to measure that? I don't really think you can, unless you can measure it in smiles, and that's probably going to be the end goal for us, is just to be involved in as many different nonprofits that people are passionate about, and hopefully help to move that needle. And if we can document smiles, then I think we've done our job.
That's awesome. I'm inspired big time, and I really appreciate you volunteering to take some time and tell me what you're doing, and talk to those who are going to be listening to what they could do. I think you guys are on a cutting edge, for no other reason but for others, clearly. But I think it's going to certainly inspire and motivate others to do it, because if work can be a place where, we're making money, but you're also a part of something and growing, and really that's true success, right? It's like being able to give out of what who you are, your strength in life and your passion, and change lives. That's so cool. So thanks again, Trey, and tell the guys I say hi, and thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with me. So
my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.